Here I am. I'm Jay Allison. I'm the founder of our precious little radio station that could. I want to thank Johnny Hoy and the Bluefish. They're going to play some little music segues for us. They played at our celebration night when we founded the radio station 20 years ago. They played in Buckminster Fuller's Dome in Woods Hole. It was a restaurant back then. And you can drive by and see what 20 years looks like when you take a look at the dome. But so they'll be playing a few segues. I want to thank you guys for being here. I trust you are here. We were going to have the Cape Cod Symphony was going to play an event for this. Well, you know, things happened and we're making some adjustments, but we all really appreciate you spending a little time with us on a computer screen to help us celebrate 20 years. We're going to try to have fun, and we're still going to have that Cape Cod Symphony concert eventually. So really quickly, I want to play another representation of what 20 years looks and sounds like. It's a super short sonic ID, we call them. They're the little interstitial vignettes we air. They're portraits and oral histories and overheard conversations and songs that we've been doing since we started the radio station, and they've now been emulated by other radio stations around the country. This one was a recording of my daughter Hope about 20 years ago.
Okay, 1 second. It's NPR, it's NPR, it's national, it's public, it's radio, it's national, it's public, it's public, it's national, it's public, it's radio, NPR, yeah!
You're listening to the Cape and Islands NPR stations, a service of WGBH.
NPR.
Hi, CAI. Happy 20th birthday. It's me, Hope. I wake up to the CAI every morning, so I usually start my day by sort of sleepily saying, hi, Steve. Hi, Elspeth. Hi, Dad. Hi, Vicky. It's a pretty good way to wake up. But yeah, so just saying happy birthday. It's been 20 years, so I'm probably a little bit different than maybe you pictured listening to that recording. Yeah, I guess I'll just finish by saying NPR. Yeah.
I'm back. That was Hope. I should mention one of my other kids, but my older daughter, Lily, she was listening to me fundraise once at the radio station when she was, I don't know, maybe 10 or so. And she called the radio station and she donated $100. And her allowance was like, I don't know, 50 cents or something. And I tried to let her off the hook and said, no, you really should. But she eventually raised all that money and gave it to the radio station, which is, I don't know, it's a kind of faith. And we needed that kind of faith to get the radio station on the air to begin with. It's faith confirmed by many of you who gave donations before there was even a transmitter, before we were on the air. There were strangers sending us money, which kind of kept me going because I felt like I couldn't let them down. And WGBH had faith we could pull this off together. And radio relies on faith. We can't see you when we're on the air. We just have to believe in you, that you're listening. I can't see you now. I have to have faith that you're actually there. And this event, this call tonight is really to thank you for your faith in us. And to get started, I want to introduce two people that you know well if you listen. They're our oldest employees. They don't mind me saying that. We love them. Mindy Todd and Dan Tritle.
Hi, Dan. Is Dan there too? I don't see Dan.
Hi, Mindy. I'm here.
Yep. And Dan, I think you called us old, but isn't Jay older than us?
He's just a few years older. Just a few years. Yes.
Okay, we've earned those years. And if you have questions, I have a couple of questions. And Jay, when you started this station, Seoul is a little quiet, but it was pretty sleepy.
Well, yeah, part of the motivation for starting it was especially starting about now and then getting into February. I walked in the town. I lived here and there was not a single light on at night. And it really felt like a tomb. And I just thought, what if we had a radio station? There would at least be a light on, you know what I mean? And I just felt that kind of idea of a beacon, of, a warm center, of some place that, emanated humanity all day and all night. That seemed really appealing. So then I got going and starting a radio station, which I thought was easy, but it ends up it actually isn't.
Isn't as easy as it sounds. And Dan was the first host on the air. And Dan, how you were on the West Coast? You're from Washington State. So how did you get from there to here?
I was happily working in Seattle, hosting and reporting for an NPR station. Was just checking the NPR job website, and there was this ad for morning edition host, new NPR station, Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket. Work with Jay Ellis, and I thought, that sounds fun. So next thing I knew, here I was, and I arrived on a Friday to start my job, and the next day I marched in the Woods Hole Parade holding up a sign for the radio station. Yeah, I thought, this is a nice place. Yeah, more people on the parade than watching it.
And our West Coast boy is now an East Coast boy, right?
Yeah, sun is still on the opposite side of the ocean.
I think Dan and I will be the ones that are here for the next 20 years, right? We have no intentions of retiring anytime soon. People keep asking us that, but no, we're not going anywhere. And we do have a question from Matthew. I'm not sure who this is. I guess it's directed to everybody. Do you have a most memorable moment? Now, Jay, do you have a most memorable moment? I can think of one, which would be when we did the interview with Sonny Williams from the space station. That was pretty exciting. And we had to go through Houston, to get up there to the space station. But what was the funniest thing was when the show was over and I went back up to my desk, I sat down and my phone rang, and it was Sonny inviting me to her sister's birthday party. So I was like, wow. So that would be my memorable moment. How about you, Jay?
Well, on space stations, maybe we were doing the series This I Believe, and I also really wanted to talk to someone in the space station, but they weren't able to make a hookup. But the guy, Dan Tanney, the astronaut who wrote this beautiful essay, you can still find it on the internet. I was driving down 95 to New York City, and I got a call from Houston Exchange. I had no idea who it was. Anyway, it was Dan Tanney in the space station. And I was talking to him driving the car, and I just kept screaming my excitement. And he said at one point, because he's a big public radio fan, he said, "I can't believe I'm talking to you." I said, "You can't believe you're I'm on I-95.
Talking to the space station. Dan, how about you, Dan? Do you have a memorable moment?
First week I was on the air doing morning edition, the guy came in the control room while I was doing a newscast and handed me a printing order. The station itself used to be a printing office, and he didn't know, even though there was a radio station sign and the on-air light. And I thought, this is a great place to live.
I want to introduce another mainstay of the radio station. She's always working behind the scenes, and she and I work together on everything. We produced the Moth Radio Hour that comes from Woods Hole. We produced This I Believe for NPR, and we do the Sonic IDs, and we do our Sunday night documentary DJ show together, and lots of other things. And she's been around since the very beginning. A terrific citizen, my friend, Vicki Merrick. Vicki's gonna do a little bit of trivia for us because we all miss having pub nights, All right, Vic, you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
First, we're going to play a couple of short lists. You've probably heard these from time to time on the air. They're a kind of a sonic ID, a little bit different in that they're a list of things that are read aloud. And then at the end, the list is revealed for what it was. And so we're going to play a short list. It's kind of like a story with the title at the end. So we're going to play this short list, and then we'll abruptly stop it and give you a chance to see if you can guess what the list is. And are you looking at questions and answers, Jay? So feel free to write in your answers. So let's play short list number 1.
Another short list. This one from Jonathan Harris.
Nobody. Zigzag. Paleface, Dervish, Fiancé, Rogue, Siren, Spinster, Playfellow, Druid, High Tide.
So I will tell you that the idea for the short list, the call out, was first made at WCAI, and then it went on to become a national project. We did it with NPR's Day to Day. So we got calls from all over the country, and we're still open to getting more shortlists. So if you have an interesting one, please give us a call. Call the listener line and share it with us.
Yeah, somebody said boat names. That was their guess, boat names. Somebody else said too hard.
Too hard. Okay.
It's a hard one.
It is a hard one. It's unusual. And then you kind of go like that afterwards. Okay, so let's play the answer.
That's a list of horse names that I found in a guest book from the early 1900s on Noshawn Island.
You're listening to WCAI.
Come on, that's a good one.
Come on, that's a great one.
That's a tough one to guess.
Okay, so now we have a couple of trivia questions, and they're about our two senior staff members. The first one is about Mindy Todd, little known facts. So you're going to try and guess which of the three things is wrong. So the first one, Mindy was a union bartender in New York City, was Miss Windsor Post Office in the Shad Derby Festival, trained as a boxer until she blew out her shoulder and started reporting on TV. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to try and guess. She's got a very interesting past. We could ask about so many things. At one point, I thought that she was a German Shepherd breeder because she's had a lot of them. There were a lot of things. Okay, wait, here's an answer. Trained as a boxer. Doreen says is trained as a boxer. Anybody else? Anybody else? Bartender. Trained as a boxer. Never a bartender?
Everybody's been a bartender.
Everybody's been a bartender. Well, not a union bartender, maybe.
That's true.
That's
not
right.
union, maybe.
And Patricia guessed Miss Windsor. So we've tricked everybody in one way or another. I'm going to tell you what the answer is. We kind of cheated on it. It's number 3, because Mindy did take boxing lessons. Mindy, show them. There you go. But she didn't really train as a boxer. And she was a TV reporter, but she never blew out her shoulder. So that's...
And I was Miss Windsor Post Office and a union bartender.
Yes. And she got a phone call from outer space.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's do the next one. This is about Dan, little known facts about Dan. Which one do you think is not true? He was a singing elevator operator, started drinking double shots of coffee when he was 14, eats fried fish with mustard. Those are the 3 things. So let's explain. Okay. Mindy, while we're waiting for people to guess, somebody wants you to explain.
Oh, all right. I am from Windsor, Connecticut, and there is an annual contest, a festival called the Shad Derby Festival, and different businesses sponsor the Queen contenders. Did not win Queen, but I was Miss Windsor Post Office. Had nothing to do with the fact that my father was the assistant postmaster. The one and only ever Miss Windsor Post Office. So there you go.
Okay, so here are the things that are not true. This is so classic Cape Cod. 2 people have decided that the eats fried fish with mustard is not true. So maybe I'll just jump to the answer, which is what? He did not start drinking coffee at 14. Dan never had a cup of coffee until a few years ago, which is crazy.
Until I moved to Woods Hole.
Yeah, well, but even then, because I kept saying, Dan, how do you manage to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and not drink coffee? And then I think you met your wife and started drinking coffee.
Yeah. She introduced me to coffee.
So will you tell them about, so Dan was an elevator operator at the Seattle Space Needle.
Seattle Space Needle, huge elevators, 4 dozen people, had to entertain them for a minute. And your captive audience, what else am I going to do, right?
But didn't
I guess that's one reason why I'm announcing on the radio these days.
But didn't somebody tell you not to give up your day job?
Yeah.
We do have one other question we didn't get to before that, which was, what is the farthest you have ever been from someone where someone has said, I've heard of Woods Hole. Isn't that the place with the great NPR station?
I have an answer. With my wife, we went into the jungles of Nepal near Chitwan and we had to ford rivers and Land Rovers and ended up riding elephants and everything. We ended up in this little sort of a village place to stay. And there was one little place where we went in to eat. We were the only people there except one other couple who said, "Oh, you're from Cape Cod? You know Elspeth? She does a local food report, right?" Anyway, they were from Truro. Okay.
Oh, how funny.
Anyway. All right. Unless someone else was further than Nepal, we'll move on. Okay. Well, Vicki and I are going to step away, do our big costume change. And no, we're not. But
I want to see that.
So we're going to leave it to Mindy and Dan and another special guest and some others to talk about how the station got to where it is today, where it is, and what's next.
I only held the clock job for 5 or 6 years.
Thomas Hodgson, former keeper of the clock at the Congregational Church in West Tisbury.
I'm afraid my confession about the ultimate reason for wanting to retire is that I don't really care what time it is. And I would rather I'd rather rely on an internal clock than a machine, though this is certainly a beautiful machine.
You're listening to the Cape and Islands NPR stations.
We've really had some great people come through the station over the years and move on to bigger and better things. And one of them is Sean Corcoran, who joins me. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Mindy. Hey, Dan. Great to be here.
Yeah,
I moved on to other things. I don't know if they were necessarily bigger and better, but other things.
Well, we've had some really like Ping Wong, who you hear on NPR, Sam Fields, who we hear on Marketplace, were with us. Jeremy Hobson was an intern with us before he, moved on. I mean, we've had a number of people who've come through.
I had an intern contact me the other day, Mindy, Jack Rodolico, former intern. When he was interning with us, he couldn't find housing on Cape Cod, a very familiar story, right? So he was camping as he did his internship. And he contacted me because he wanted to talk about Cape Wind, which was my bread and butter for years. Of
course, yeah, you covered that for so long. Sean, let's look at a little bit past. I do want to mention one of the highlights we saw in the video in the very beginning, a lot of the awards that we won, and sort of our big one was the Columbia DuPont Award, which some people are not, it's like our Pulitzer. It's one of the most prestigious awards in broadcast journalism, which you won for the series you did on Two Cape Cods, Hidden Poverty on the Cape and Islands, which really was, and you were that was like 2005, 6, you were pretty new with us at that time.
Yeah, I arrived in 2005, but I had the opportunity. I think I was given 2 assignments, and then they came to me and said, "We want you to do a 20-part series about poverty on Cape Cod." It was an amazing opportunity. I went to every community, and I think it was important work, and that's what WCAI really allowed me to do. I'd spent a long time covering school committees and city councils, but to be able to really dig deeply into a community was a real opportunity, and I treasured it.
Yeah. And so some of the other things that we've done, Life Remembered. I mean, we started out with just one science reporter. We really didn't have much of a news team. Then we brought you on, Sean, and we just started adding as much local content as we could with a really small staff.
We saw there was a lot of value in taking time to do kind of really in-depth work and not just doing the daily newscast stuff as much. So because we were a small station. And so I got to do a lot of series. We looked at groundwater pollution. We did a lot around Alzheimer's disease. We looked at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station. We looked at boy, so many really in-depth, important stories. And I can remember with the first stories I did, I tried to sound like Dan Tritle, because to me, he was like the public radio voice. And then actually, Mindy, you handed the reins of the news roundup, the weekly news roundup, to me.
That's
You
right.
started that. I continued it, and I really enjoyed it. We brought in so many different voices of journalists from around the region. They all wanted to be on CAI, and it was so cooperative. And then when I left to go up to WGBH to help run the newsroom there, Steve Junker took over the news roundup on Fridays.
That's right. And we're going to keep that going. Yeah. And we have so many local little features like Cape Cod Notebook, the fishing news that Steve does, the food report, which we mentioned, the bird report. And it's amazing how many bird fans there are. Who knew? I think it was Jay initially who introduced me to Vern and said, you should have him on the point. And I said, to talk about birds? What? And then now look, I mean, now I know a lot about birds. I didn't know anything about birds in the beginning. Yeah.
Special.
And somebody's asking, Dan, how many birds songs do you have loaded in the vault? And what do we have? About 50 maybe?
There are at least 75, 100
Yeah.
in there.
We've sort of here and there, I used to take them from the CDs that Vern gave me. Now we just pull them offline. But yeah, we've got.
Yeah, there are tons of them in there. And it's like I now just pretty much know them by heart.
Yeah. So Sean, the other thing we want to mention is the Forgetting, the podcast that you started here on the Cape before you went up to GBH. The podcast is still being done here on the Cape.
Yes. So like I said, we did a lot around Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And then I had the opportunity to work on this podcast with Greg O'Brien, who lives on the Cape and has written a wonderful book called On Pluto. And he has early onset Alzheimer's disease. So for the past few years, we've been doing the podcast for CAI, kind of, learning about his day-to-day, kind of tracking how the disease is kind of manifesting itself. And I'm fortunate we can do it. It's, like so much that we do on CAI, it's a public service. And I feel honored to be able to bring that and still have my hand in CAI. So I'm up at GBH, which is, the kind of the mother ship. Mm-hmm. And so I edit up there, and a lot of the stuff I edit ends up on CAI and vice versa. We are a lot that's on CAI on GBH, and I get to work on the Forgetting Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's with Steve Junker also helps put that together.
So you're still part of the family, even though you're.
Oh my goodness, am I part of the family? You got it. Of course I'm part of the family.
Exactly. So
when Jay started this, and everyone who contributed to it had no idea how many lives they would touch. Whether it's my profession and my career, or the people that I got to go and interview and maybe was able to make a change in their life just by bringing some attention to their situation or whatever. Just so many lives have been touched. So much joy has come from that little box. And if Jay hadn't wanted a light on in Woods Hole, we wouldn't be here right now.
We wouldn't be here, yeah. Another question for Dan. Dan, you get the questions here. Didn't Dan find love at WCAI?
One of the great things about public radio, my now wife, Janet, started out as one of the many volunteers at the radio station, answering phones for the pledge drive. And one day she was actually answering a pledge call at my desk. And I came around the corner and there it was. Love at first sight.
Oh, that's so great. Next, we're going to take a look at what's to come on CAI. But before we do, let's listen to another Sonic.
Eileen McGrath on Nantucket.
All right, here we go. Now you're going to see the correct way to put the wash on the line. If it's a windy day, you've got to decide which way you're going to stand, because otherwise you'll have them wrapped right around your head as you hang them up, you see. If I were a careless laundry hanger, I'd do this. I just threw it over the line and then, speared it with a couple of clothespins. Very careless work. You should do it just exactly the way, so everything is shipshape. It's a lost art.
You're listening to 90.1 WCAI Woods Hole, Martha's Vineyard, and 91.1 WNAN Nantucket, the Cape and Islands NPR stations.
like to bring in a few more people who are an important part of the radio station, and some of my trusted colleagues. News Director Steve Junker, Morning Edition host and senior reporter Catherine Ident, and our science and climate reporter Eve Zukoff.
I'm Steve Junker, and Eve and Catherine with us here. We are thrilled to be celebrating our 20 years of being on the air, but I have to tell you, in the newsroom, we are not looking back. Right now, every day we're looking to bring you news from around the region. And that can be daily news, when the Steamship Authority raises its rates for ferry travel, when a big sinkhole appears in Sandwich. It's also issue-driven reporting, how schools are coping with the pandemic. Stories like how offshore wind might transform the region, and environmental stories about water quality and climate change, and of course, even big events like the election. So we're gonna take a couple of minutes to talk right now with Eve and Catherine about what happens in the newsroom. And these are voices I'm sure you know, and now you can put faces with them, which is great too. Catherine, let's start on your end. Let's talk about the way things have changed with the pandemic here. One of the big things at the radio station is that now, in so many ways, the radio station doesn't exist in just a single place anymore, because most of us are working remotely. Tell us what that means for you and for the Morning Edition crew.
Right, that's right. We are remote, and I'll admit, it seemed impossible at first, but we were really able to quickly kind of pivot to working from home when we had to. And I would say it's a testament to technology and teamwork, because Dan's on the board in Woods Hole every morning, and Sam is in his home office on his phone with me for 4 hours. And the three of us are able to kind of produce and present and air a show using some pretty cool technology, including some headphones that make me feel a little bit like a fighter pilot. And if you wondered if we work in our pajamas, I would say, I don't know about Dan, but I know 2/3 of us sometimes appear at work in our PJs. And I have some new office mates, I would say, and they're fuzzy and they're pretty quiet. And they go by the names of Captain and Wuzzle. So it's quite different, but I think with all the technology, it sounds like we're right there in Woods Hole like we used to be.
So let me ask you, if I were you doing Morning Edition, I'd be so tempted to just bring all that equipment next to my bed on the bedside table. I could just...
Well, my husband might not appreciate that, since he doesn't want to get up. I'm at my desk. I think I turn my computer on most mornings around 4:25 a.m. and he likes to be in the dark in the bedroom. So keep my marriage together.
This is important too in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've expanded our news coverage with the pandemic, but this hasn't really just been a year of the coronavirus. Lots of other things going on. Talk a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing, and in terms of where our reporting on race and systemic racism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a nonstop year of headlines. I'm sure as listeners, you feel that same way. As journalists, it's like a fire hose each and every morning. And of course, after the death of George Floyd in May, we knew that we would be mobilizing as a newsroom to cover the reactions here on the Cape, the South Coast, and the islands, because there was rage and grief and action. And of course, it was all in the middle of the pandemic. And so we needed that news day to day, but we also felt very strongly that we have this wonderful platform of public radio, and we have shows like The Point. We even have the ability to have conversations on Morning Edition to confront some of these uncomfortable topics and have thoughtful and productive conversations. And so that's what we've been striving to do. And that's what we are going to continue to do, because we do feel that, as Sean said, that the work we do is mission driven. It's a public service, and talking about race and diversity is part of that, and we're going to keep doing it.
It may not be immediately apparent to listeners, but when we take on a news topic, we're always trying to think about how to unpack it. And sometimes it means it shows up in your newscast in just a 1 minute sort of quick hit. Sometimes it means that we unpack it in a longer feature like Eve often does for environmental reporting. And sometimes it means we unpack it in a longer discussion like you're talking about on The Point. And then sometimes it's you having a call out with somebody during Morning Edition, having what we call two-way, a conversation on the air. There's so many different ways, and each subject sort of demands its own little approach. And sometimes we do it all different ways or combinations of ways. So it's one of the interesting conversations we're constantly having behind the scenes about how to report on what we're reporting. We do have a question from somebody for Katie and Dan both here. What time do you get out of bed to start working that early?
Dan, what time do you get up?
Oh, well, it's early. I get up early enough so I've been able to have a 20 to 25-minute bicycle ride into Woods Hole down the Shining Sea bike path at Odark 100. And after this morning's bike ride in 21-degree weather, I'm going to have to find another way of getting into work. But yeah, it's an early morning. I try and be at the station by 5:15. Yeah.
And I know your bike rides are, I always ask you how your ride was because I kind of want to know.
It was cold this morning.
Yeah. A perk for me, a small perk for me is that I do sleep in a little bit now that I'm working from home right now. I used to get out of bed around 3:40 in the morning so that I could get to work by 4:45. I live in Barnstable, so I have a little bit of a commute. And so now I'm getting up around 4:15. So I have a little bit of extra sleep there. It's precious sleep. But I am sitting down. It has been such a big news year that I am truly sitting down to get to work earlier than I was actually when I was arriving at the station, because there is just so much that we want to make sure we have ready to go when we go on the air at 5:59 a.m.
And the truth is, I misread the question. Now that I look at more closely, they want to know what time you go to bed each night in order to get up that early each morning.
Dan, what time do you go to bed?
Oh, probably just right after our event is over.
We're probably approaching your bedtime soon. So
indeed, yeah.
Yeah, 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9. I tell a lot of my friends who want to visit on Zoom calls that I'm not a toddler, but I have toddler hours. So yeah, I like to get my sleep.
All right, let's bring Eve in here. Eve Zuckoff is our environmental reporter. You know, science reporting has been baked into this station from the very outset. We're fortunate enough to be located in a small town with these world-renowned science institutions around us. Eve, I'm going to ask you to highlight just some of the stories you've covered now. You started working with us June a year ago. So
yeah.
Like a year and a half now you've been with the station. Tell us about some of those stories that stand out for you.
Yeah, and it really is worth saying. I have inherited such an enormous wealth of knowledge when it comes to, you know, all of the things that our station has covered before I got here in terms of, you know, you heard Sean talking about water pollution. I mean, they're big shoes to fill, but the way that we've tried to kind of fill them just over the last year and a half, I mean, I think our coverage of toxic algae blooms in ponds has been a huge one, an ongoing story. We recently did a 3-part series kind of figuring out what towns are doing to stop them as this growing public health problem, you know, really starts to threaten the public. I think also the one that is, we can't get away from it. Steve, I think you and I have like the most fun like talking about transportation to each other, just being like, have you seen that electric bus? You know, like just breathless about it. And that's really the story to watch too, I think, is watching where transportation goes and electrifying it. And then just personally, I think that one of my first stories that I covered that I still love is the release of the 340-pound loggerhead sea turtle named Munchkin. I had been at the station for about a month. I was like, I don't know, I guess I'm covering something on a beach. Like, what do you wear to go report on a beach? Do you wear shoes? Like, it was just like, I didn't know what I was doing. And it was just such a wonderful story. And I never thought that I would go on NPR talking about a turtle named Munchkin, and like the serious journalist I am, Katie, Catherine, and I, we did the next day, and it was just such a joy, such a pleasure.
I think about all the stories that you cover, and your beat has so many stories that are part of these big, hard to solve, world spanning issues with climate change issues. But you come to this with such a sense of enthusiasm. Where do you find that sense of hope that you bring to this when you're talking about climate change again, and you're coming back to these stories again?
Yeah, well, I think of it as like as a responsibility, but that also makes me sound like, you know, I know what I'm doing all the time and that I have those feelings under control, which I don't. So first, yeah, it's worth saying climate change is the greatest threat to all of us. So somebody needs to make sense of it, and make sense of it in these really incremental ways, and follow it and watch solutions as we watch problems. And when I first got to the station, I would report on, new major climate studies that show that things are bad. Like that was the headline of the stories. And I would get on the phone with these scientists and, and I'd say like, my very green question to them was like, what do we do about this? This is terrible. And they were like, oh, we just keep going. And at first I was like, these people are insane. Like they just told me the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You kind of internalize that at some point. And on the days where it's really heavy, I'll give you a little tease for a story coming out next week. We talk a lot to teenagers, to 18-year-olds who are working on resilience and plans, and they are unforgiving and they are moving forward. And we have a really great story, I think, coming out next week on teenagers looking at solutions. So I look to them too on the really hard days.
Now, one of the great things about the 20th anniversary is that it's really an opportunity for us to dream a little bit here. And we have some ideas, things we'd love to see at the station. We'd love to see freelance reporters on Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. We have an idea too for improved reception along the canal and parts of Mashpee and Hyannis. Anybody who drives around the Cape trying to keep us on the radio station knows how difficult it is, depending on where you are, to tune in CAI. It's complicated to do that kind of work. It's a lot of engineering and feasibility involved. Thanks to our supporters, we know that we have another bright future ahead of us, another chunk of 20 years to think about accomplishing some of these wonderful goals. And now we have some other team members and some special friends who wanted to reach out for our birthday. Let's hear what they have to say.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of announcing a milestone for this station. Recently, we received a gift from the Hunter Ward Foundation. With this gift, they made 2 requests. The first request, that we honor Jay Allison, our founder and friend. The second was that we use this gift to inspire others to support our mission. How many people do you know that dedicated years of their time and talent to starting a public radio station for the community that they love and live in? Please join me in congratulating Jay in this honor and for thanking the Hunter Ward Foundation for starting something special.
20 years! Wow, congratulations, CAI. What a great legacy. We are so proud of the journalism you bring to the Cape and the islands. It's an honor to have you as part of the GBH family. Keep bringing that local, trusted news to all of your audiences, and we will be listening.
Jay, everybody at WCAI, happy anniversary. Hey, it's Jad from Radio Lab here in my studio in Brooklyn. That's my studio. And I just wanted to sort of congratulate you. What an accomplishment. I gotta say, it's a little bit trippy because I started Radio Lab minutes after you guys got the station going. But really, your station is one of the purest expressions of the public radio ethos. And also, Jay, to you specifically, I feel like my whole career, man, I've just been trying to like steal your moves. I've basically just been doing the Jay Allison as best I can. But yeah, so in addition to wishing you happy birthday, I just want to say thank you, Jay, for being awesome for so long and inspiring me and so many other people, and now inspiring me in the way of just being a good citizen of this community. So yeah, here's to 20, to WCAI, to you, Jay, and here's to 20 more.
Hi, WCAI. It's Susan Stanford in Washington saying happy birthday, congratulations on 20 years. What a wonderful anniversary and what a contribution you have made to all of your listeners up on the Cape. I can remember when we used to take summers on Martha's Vineyard and how thrilled I was to be able to turn on my FM radio and hear all of you and the wonderful work that you were doing. So bravo to Jay, to every single one of you on the staff, people who've been there a long time, and the newbies as well. You're in a wonderful, wonderful line of work, and much appreciated for it. Have great big slices of birthday cake. Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Ira Glass. Just here to say congratulations to Jay and to WCAI. Like, I don't even understand why somebody would even think you can start a radio station. To me, it's like I'm going to make water. I'm going to create an element. Like I understand making a radio show, yes, but I'm going to make a radio station, service a whole community. That's beyond my level of ambition, of understanding. Anyway, happy anniversary to the station, which serves this community so beautifully, and to Jay, who had the foresight to think of it, and to many, many more years.
Hello, WCAI. This is Blake and Murphy from Woods Hole, and we're calling you actually from down south to congratulate you on 20 years. And we want to say how much we love the station and how much we use it. It was a constant for us this summer, and when we're out of town, we listen to it when we're out of town as well, thanks to the miracle of, I don't understand any of it, but it's a miracle. But what we did want to say was a huge congratulations to our dear, much loved friend, Jay Allison. He has been a part of our lives for a very, very long time, and an inspiration in so many ways. So we have been supporters of WCAI since we finally got a little cottage up in Woods Hole, and we just want to send out an enormous amount of love and support to all of you that are doing great work, and especially Jay for his amazing love for his work. And he's an inspiring guy, even if he's just a friend, even if you don't listen to him on the radio. We miss Woods Hole whenever we're away. Luckily, we don't have to miss WCAI. Take good care, and thanks.
I'm kind of embarrassed right now, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful to my colleagues and friends, all of whom I admire so much. And, you know, those people have all come up here to the island and both islands and the Cape, and they gave talks when we were first getting off the ground. And so I'm grateful to them and to the Hunter Ward Foundation for that amazing, inspiring gift. So, but I want to rush to say, first of all, that this is not really about me. It's in every way, this radio station is a collaboration. And honestly, now it's the hard daily work is done by the team. They are CAI. I think of it like building an airplane. I'm proud of my role in the design and working with other people, especially WGBH, to build it, and even the trajectory to some degree, but I do not fly the plane. It's everyone who works here, and you've seen a lot of them tonight, and there are a lot more that you haven't seen, and it's our colleagues at the national level. And finally, it's you who support us and keep the plane flying, literally. Kind of literally, except for the flying part, the listening part. And, you know, my real feeling of pride is the sound of CAI every day, watching it fly 24 hours a day for 20 years. To begin the toast, I just want to tell you about the moment that we signed onto the air. It was, we were all gathered at 3 Water Street, and we had a radio on and it was just static. And then we threw the switch and the static just went down to silence. And then I got to say the first word that ever went out in the air, which was listen. And then I said, and I'll quote it, "Our purpose is community service, a sane and respectful place to talk, an ear on the rest of the world, a crossroads in our daily paths where we can meet and gather and even create change." That is perhaps a lofty goal for a mere radio signal, but a radio signal has the singular ability to proclaim all our separate identities while it also spans our boundaries to bring us together. And that's what we do every day. We all of us who work here and our listeners, we love this place. We love this place we live in. It matters to us. And we want to make it better. And to echo that feeling, here's a final poetic sonic ID. It's recorded by Sean Corcoran, actually. It's almost a 30-second haiku.
My husband is a retired dairy farmer. A dairy farmer works 7 days a week. He had never seen the ocean. So when we were married, we came to the Cape so he could see the ocean.
Barbara Yamamoto of Harwichport.
His eyes filled with tears, and he said, I have to live here. And here we are, and here we intend to stay.
You're listening to the Cape and Islands NPR stations.
And so here we are, and here we intend to stay. Cheers.
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 Cheers indeed.
Cheers. Congratulations, Jay, Trinity grad. We were all there together.
Thank you guys for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate you celebrating with us. And now we're going to play a little bit of Johnny Hoy and the Bluefish, the same band that played us in 20 years ago.
Dancing daddy was 60-something. He'd dance alone or he'd dance with you. He'd come in and put down his briefcase, loosen his tie, then kick off his shoes. When daddy danced, you just had to watch him, because age had yet to break his stride. The promised land was in his body. He would go there when he closed his eyes. In Woods Hole, we played the dance hall. Had Danny rocking and a joint was too. We were trying to take them higher. Shake every inch of Danny's 6'2". Then he was down like a big tree falling, still smiling when he hit the floor. His last breath was to the mojo working. Oh, Danny, who could ask for more? Danny, oh, Danny, Danny, oh, Danny, oh, dancing Danny, oh. Oh, Danny, your spirit rose above us. Oh, it must have been quite a view. The EMTs was working on your body, and many people saying prayers for you. Some people said it was us that killed him, and it never came